Hey, this is Vinny. I just wanted to inform you that your comments may or may not be shown on screen tonight. Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you today? I'm really excited about this new show we're going to do tonight. I got my sidekick, Joe Croce, me, and we got our great director, Anthony Grifo. Now, this show is called Law and Disorder, and we keep getting into politics because there are a lot of crooks in politics, unfortunately, both Republican and Democrat, okay? I'm very fair with everybody, okay? Even though we keep going after the Democrats because they're socialists. But we're going to talk about some of the craziness that's going on in this country is unbelievable. For example, in Portland, the BLM and Antifa had a protest. They always protest. They have not stopped protesting. The mayor doesn't do anything. He got the police handcuffed, and when it should be the other way around, they should handcuff the people. But a guy was driving his truck. He was going to work. They stopped him. He couldn't go forward. They surrounded him with guns, AK-47, AR-15. He happened to be carrying a pistol. He came out. He said, listen, don't point a gun at me because I got a gun. Next thing you know, they tackle him. They take the gun away. They beat the hell out of him, okay? No cops around. And when they got there, everybody was gone except the guy bleeding and going to the hospital. What I get angry about is the left keeps saying we have white privilege. I don't have any white privilege. I've been working since I was 15 years old. I've worked all kinds of jobs. I always love working. I'm a worker. I don't see any privilege with that. The only privilege I had was trying to work. But I think what we have now is black privilege. They can riot, nothing happens to them. They get arrested, they get out, no bail. They commit a crime, they get arrested, they resist arrest. The next thing you know, there's a shrine written for them. Now, I have to admit, some of the police have made grievous errors in arresting these people. Okay, and there's no defense about that. However, it's such a small percentage. They're making a small. Hey, Eddie Earl, how are you? They're making such a small microcosm of our society as systemic. The whole police department. It's not true. Yeah, you're a sidekick, Joe. Okay, you don't like that, Joe? All right, we'll talk about it later. So what we have now is that blacks, ever since Obama came into office, he tried to do as much as he could for black, which I don't blame him. That's what he's supposed to do. Okay, he's black, take care of the black people. But he brought Black Lives Matter into the White House. He legitimized that organization. It's a Marxist communist organization. The woman that runs it actually admits that. So we have I consider a terrorist organization. Now, all these riots and these burnings of buildings and destroying of stores, I don't see where they can't consider them a terrorist organization. When they called conservatives terrorists, when they're not. If you go to any of the conservative or Republican rallies, there's very little violence, very little problem. Okay, I'm not comparing the two. I'm just making a statement. Now, we got, I live in Westchester, which is very, very crime-free. And yet a woman got mugged in front of a store in a White Plains, which is kind of a grandmother by the way. Now, what's going on in this country? Everybody is I don't know if it's from the pandemic. I don't know if it's the COVID-19, people being inside. People seem to be really, going crazy. For example, they arrested a guy the other day. He's been arrested 67 times. He's bipolar. He didn't take his medication. And what did he do? He hit a little baby, a 2-year-old baby in the face with a suitcase. I don't know why. I don't know. They arrested him. They're putting him into a mental institution. By the way, a lot of the people that are out on the street, people homeless, they have mental difficulties, and are not being addressed properly. They keep calling them homeless. Well, oh yeah, they're homeless because they have no place to go. They don't want to go into the shelters. Now, the problem with the shelters is that crime is rampant in the shelters. They have security there. The security is Mickey Mouse. What they do is they bring. I used to have a security company, and what they do is they bring it out for bid, and the lowest bid gets the job, and the lowest bid usually has the lowest employees, the lowest quality, and they don't care as long as they have a body there. And these bodies don't do anything. Yeah, BLM and Antifa are terrorists. There's no two ways about it. Now, the media, the left-wing media, which is all the media, except a few exceptions, they make them sound like they're a fraternal group, and I got the greaseball from Brooklyn listening. Bob Kisto, an old friend of mine. My God, we're doing good if I get somebody like you to listen to us. This whole society is going crazy. Okay, now I kind of compare what was going on now to what happened in the Wild West in the 1870s, 1860s after the Civil War, and you had all these different people running around, and you had you had towns with no sheriff, no marshal. So what happened? People just ran crazy, and then finally you got somebody like Wyatt Earp, or you got somebody like Wild Bill Hickok that came into town. Like the old expression, the new sheriff in town. And they cleaned up stuff. I'll give you an example. In 1876, there was a town in northern Texas that was, who do I want for mayor, Ernie? I'd rather not answer that right now. I got two people in mind, and one's a Republican and one's a Democrat, and I like both of them, so I'd rather not say anything. Okay, so in Texas, the mayor of the town wired a telegram to the Texas Rangers, said, we have riots in the city. It's going crazy. People are shooting. It's just crazy. You got to send Texas Rangers here. All right. You'll have people, you'll have help on the noon train. There's always a noon train on these. I guess that's the way they work. So the train comes in, and the mayor and all his staff are waiting anxiously, and this one guy comes over with the white Stetson. Obviously he's a Texas Ranger. He has a saddle over his shoulder, and he comes in and he says, "They said, where are the rest of the Rangers?" He said, "There's a riot in town." You know what he says? There's one riot, one Ranger, and that one man cleaned up the whole town. So that's the analogy I'm making now. We hope to get the sheriff. We hope that we get somebody like Eddie Earl said, who do I want for mayor? I like even though I can't vote for him because I'm not in that county anymore. And I can't vote, period. But I like Curtis Lewa. I like what he has to say. But I also like Eric Adams. And I met both of them. I met Eric Adams at one of these law enforcement dinners that I get invited to every year. And I seem to like him because he's a captain. He's also one of the founders of the 100 Black Men for Justice and all that. And some of the cops they really don't like him because of that. But the fact remains is he did say, against all this Democratic rivals, that he wants the cops to be well-funded, well-trained, et cetera, and put anti-crime back. Now, one of the things that people don't understand, now, I was in law enforcement. I was not a street cop. I was a state investigator. I was a detective. I wore a suit every day. But I worked with the police in a lot of cases. So I have an affinity towards the police. And I know that when I was in a precinct working on a narcotic case with them or working on a sexual case, I saw the cops come in, anti-crime cops, special gun squads that they had, all excited. We just took 8 guns off the street. We just locked up 7 guys, blah, 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 blah. And you could see the enthusiasm. And we don't have that anymore because they're afraid. Every time they do something, the mayor is against them. The BLM is against them. The city council in New York City, bunch of fucking snowflakes. I gotta come now. I don't want to say a bunch of snow. I lived in Greenwich Village for a few years, and I met with these people all the time. They are all assholes. Okay, they're all liberal. They drink their latte with the soy milk, and I'm not going to say what their sexual preferences are. That's none of my business, and I don't care. But they're not manly. Put it that way, okay? That's what I'm going to say. But they're not manly in the fact that even I got to be careful. I'm going to get thrown off Facebook one of these days. But so what? But what I'm trying to say is, they live in a shell. They live in the little shell. They live in New York City. Now they realize what's going on. They try to defund the police. They took money away from the police. They know that crime has risen dramatically. And I don't see how they could not. Mama's boys. That's right, Bob Castori. They're mama's boys. By the way, I want a lot of people to comment. I want to get some. All right, I got here. Adams is a stand-up guy. I agree. Adams is a stand-up guy, and I think Curtis Lee was a stand-up guy. The only thing is, Adams has more government experience. He was a state senator for a while. He's a borough president. Now, keep in mind, he's the borough president of Brooklyn. Brooklyn has 4 million people. Half the people in Manhattan. Half the people in New York City. That's 8 million people. They got half the people just in Brooklyn. Okay, Staten Island is very conservative. They only have maybe 800,000. I don't think they have 1 million people. And Queens, I don't know. It's you want me to run for 2024? No, I can't run. I can't even walk for office. But let me get to the point. The point is that crime is a serious. Let's talk about De Blasio. De Blasio says, "Oh, the shooting is not going to affect tourism." Bullshit. I'm a tourist. I'm coming from buttfuck Iowa to New York City. I got to worry that I'm going to get shot. I'm going to get. Adams is a good old-fashioned conservative. You know what? I have to agree with you, Joe. I think he is. I really think he is. And I met him. He's a good guy. I think he's smart, sharp. But we'll see what happens. Okay. So you got now. Here's another thing. De Blasio claims that the shooting is not going to affect tourism. Look at the tourists. A lot of the tourist industry in New York City is shot. Okay, and why would they come into Times Square, which is the center of the universe? A lot of people, to myself too, when they know someone's going to get shot, they're shooting up drugs on 40th and 7th Avenue, 40th and Broadway, 41st and Broadway, the whole area. They're shooting up in front of everything. Matter of fact, there was a picture in the paper, in the New York Post, because the other papers won't put this in, of a guy getting head in the corner off the street. Anybody can see that. But that's New York City. No, it's not right. New York City, I love New York City. I can't stand what's going on. You got, it's just crazy. You got these woke people. All right. One of the problems we have in New York City, they're letting the homeless sleep on the subways. Now, subway crime is up like 40%, something ridiculous thing, because there's no cops there. Now they're putting a couple hundred cops. You need more than a couple hundred, Now, I traveled, when I go into the city, I take Metro North into Manhattan, and then I have to take the regular trains, right? So I get the shuttle to the west side or whatever. I don't see any of this. I don't know. I never see it. And a few times when I had to go back, when I was working, when I worked for the state, I had the offices in Manhattan. I used to take the train in from the Bronx, and I very rarely saw any violence when I was in it. And if there was any, I put my 2 cents in. I would. I guess I'm active. I gotta. I don't know what it is. I help people on the train. I helped a couple. I helped the guy fell in the tracks, and then he went in the tracks again. The guy was a junkie. The second time I said, you know what? I'll fool to it. Screw you. Okay. Now we got in Colorado, a guy shot 7 people in a birthday party. And children got shot. Now, all right, you can't complain about the law and order in Colorado, even though Colorado is a liberal state. It's like another California, very liberal. But you do have guns. People have guns in Colorado. They're more prone to have guns, and I think they're allowed to carry guns. But you don't hear about a lot of shootings. What happens is you get people that just go wacko. Some guy killed 4 or 5 people another, out of state, not in New York, because he got fired. Now that's a problem. When you fire somebody, you got to watch out. I mean, we've had situations where people got fired, and the boss called us in and said, "Listen, I need some of your investigators. I need a security guard. I need investigators in case this guy comes back." So you keep a security staff there for maybe a week or so the guy cools down, and then hopefully he's not going to come back. But these guys that get fired, they usually commit their crimes within a week, within a few days, because they're hot-tempered. Okay, now the another thing that's bothering me about crime, or if you want to call it crime, there's I don't know how to say it, a totalitarian feeling where they want people to rat each other out. They want people to actually, and they've done this where people had more than 20 people in their house at a party. The neighbor would call the police. If there's people having a party, they're in violation of a COVID law, and the police would come over there and break it up or arrest somebody or give them a violation or a fine. So we now it's just like Russia. Yeah, Joe. I was going to say that. It's just like Russia and China and Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany, you made people call up. Like, for example, if you lived next door to a Jew and you were German and you saw the Jew did something, whatever, against the grain, you call up. They didn't have cell phones then, so you have to call up on the phone or and say, hey, these people, and then boom. So we have that kind of culture. And what happens is American people are becoming sheep. Okay. We're becoming like Venezuela. Okay. Just look at what's going on throughout the country, how people, everything's breaking down. It's crazy. And a lot of people, some people just don't want to do anything about it. And there's a lot of people that do want to, but there's no cohesiveness within the conservative. For example, recently in Brooklyn at I think it was in Park Slope, people outside having dinner, really nice little restaurant outside, and BLM and Antifa came. Yeah, you guys are eating. They grabbed their food. They were harassing them. Now, how can you defend yourself against 20 or 30 thugs when you're alone with your wife and your kids, or you're alone with a friend? You can't. I mean. You get up, you want to knock a couple of them out, then you're going to get in a lot of trouble. All right. I'm not going to say what I would do, but probably get in trouble. Okay. So listen, let's digress a little bit. Okay. We have a situation in the United States where people are afraid. They're afraid to say things because they want to offend anybody. If they offend somebody, then what happens is they get beat up, they get ostracized, they get fired. If you say you're a Trump supporter, or even if you're a conservative, they're making the left is making the conservatives the bad guys when it's the other way around, and it's very clever. When I was doing investigations, for example, there was some theft in a corporation. So I go into the corporation, I see the president. I say, okay, what's the problem? Okay, So I start asking questions about all the executives. Oh no. They're executives. They've been with me for 10 years. Don't even look at them. Guess what? When we find out who the bad guy is, it was one of the executives. So it's always the guy that points to somebody else is the guilty party. Like for example, in Israel, they're getting bombed by Hamas. And what is the squad, Ilmar and Omar and I hate those people. AOC, they're claiming that the Israelis started it. No, the Israelis don't think. These punks, these Hamas is a punk. They fire rockets from a civilian area because they don't think that the Israelis are going to shoot back. Well, they do sometimes. And then they say, oh, the Israelis are sending bombs into civilian areas. Now, the president, the prime minister of Israel said, I don't know how many people have read this letter. I saw it on Facebook. I got an email. Remember, I get a lot of emails from every conservative group. I'm a magnet for conservative. Once in a while, a liberal, but mostly conservative. And they're saying that, he said, if you keep sending the rockets, we are going to come down and destroy your whole settlement. You better get your stuff and move out. We're warning you ahead of time. Now, I don't know if that has been done. You've got to send tanks in there and now Israel is a small country, but they got balls. They got great armaments. They got the great generals. They're David and Goliath. That's what it comes out to. Now, you got to keep in mind, in the Middle East, under Trump, he made alliances with about 4 countries, with Arab countries, with Israel. Now, some woman on Facebook one day said to me, well, what's so good about that? They weren't at war. And I said, that's the thing. They weren't at war to keep the peace. So people think you have to be at war to make peace. No, you can make peace without war. Okay, Joe, instead of hitting me with these little comments, why don't you get on the air right now? Come on, Joe.
I'm here. So listen, you said Israel's got great armaments. Where do you think they got all that stuff? They got it from us, bro.
Yeah, I know, but
Israel got all their stuff from us.
So did Saudi Arabia.
I especially love that iron. What do they call that? The Iron Dome.
It's very effective.
I love that thing. That is great. But no, you made a comment before, and
Iron Dome. Some of the rockets still get through. That one rocket.
It's the Iron Dome. For anybody who's watching that doesn't know what it is the Israeli defense system against missile attacks. So it's an anti-missile system, and it's fully automated. There's no human intervention required. Rocket comes over from the strip or from wherever, and this thing just automatically activates and knocks it out of the sky. But you made a comment before, Vinny, and I don't generally agree with you a lot, but I got to agree with you on that one. You know, if Israel gave the warning and they said, listen, if you drop another bomb, we're going to destroy your whole settlement. That's all they needed to say. That's perfect. That's exactly what they should do, in my opinion. And again, I tend to be a little bit on the extreme side on occasion, but not always. You know, like an American life is worth this many of your lives. So if you bomb Israel, if you bomb a country who's not doing anything at the moment and everything is quiet, and you fire a rocket into Israel, I think they should just destroy everything that's within rocket range of the country and stop that. We told you, you did it anyway. Too bad. Now you die. It's out of control. This stuff is never going to end. These people have been fighting for 1,000 years. It goes back to
the history of the Palestinians.
Listen, I know one history, and a lot of people will laugh. You know, there's an old story about, you know, when Moses led the Jews out of the desert.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, and God promised them he was going to take them to the land of milk and honey.
Yeah.
You read that in the Bible. Everybody read that in the Bible. And so the Jews arrived there, and they said, oh, this is the land that God gave us. God forgot to tell them that somebody was already living there, and it was the Palestinians.
Yeah.
You know, and they've been fighting that, and they've been fighting over that piece of land ever since then.
Yeah.
But
you know,
that's fable. That's not fact.
Joe, I was at a detective dinner in Oklahoma, and we had the World Association Detective. And I was sitting at a table with all Israeli investigators. Now, all the Israeli investigators were former military, who was a colonel, who was a general. You know, I'm very supportive of them. And I said to them, you know, not for anything. And I guess I have a big mouth. I said, not for anything. I said, but you guys were there. You came back 2,000 years later after the Second World War, whatever. You came back 2,000, and then you come in and you say, "Lucy, I'm home," and you expect them. You expect them. They didn't like that remark. They did not like. But
listen.
We have
a situation here. Unfortunately, Vin. Unfortunately, listen. When it comes, all kidding aside, and this is my true opinion. Unfortunately, this situation with Israel and Palestine, it's not going to be resolved that easily, because both parties, and I'm trying to be as impartial as possible here, both parties feel that they have an absolutely 100% God-given legitimate right to be in that place. And it is so ingrained in their very nature, and it flows through their blood, that neither party is going to give up. That's never going to happen. They're never going to settle on anything. They have these peace accords. They have these They have these treaties that they signed. President Trump did a great job trying to help. But in the end, there's always going to be an extremist on either side that disagrees, doesn't want to give up that piece of land, doesn't want to live with the Palestinians, doesn't want to live with the Israelis. And no matter how peaceful you try to make it happen, eventually they're going to start fighting again and again and again. And honestly, in that particular situation, I don't have an answer for this one. I don't.
Okay, let me tell you what I said to history. A few years ago, Jordan allowed the Palestinians to settle in Jordan. Maybe about, I correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 15, 20 years ago, 30, I don't know. You know, the Jordans threw them out. They are the lowest of the low of the Arabs. Even the Arabs don't like them.
But even to say that again, this is one of those things where, you know what? I gotta say, look, I agree with this. This is what I do agree with. You don't see, at least I haven't heard of, and if I'm ignorant to this, please forgive me, but I have not seen Israelis bombing school buses. I have not seen Israelis putting bombs in the middle of a market and setting it off and killing like 100 or 200 innocent bystanders to prove a point. I see Palestinians doing that. I see Al Qaeda doing that. I see ISIS doing that. It's always an Arab person that does that real extreme violence because they feel they've got no other alternative. They feel they're not being heard any other way. So they figure, all right, to draw attention to our cause, we're going to get really nasty. You don't see the Jews, the Israelis, you don't see them doing that. And that's what makes me side a little bit more with the Israelis, with Israel, with the Jewish people, because they might fight back. They might fight back a little hard, and they might bomb the crap out of them when maybe it wasn't totally necessary. But it's always in retaliation to some school bus being blown up, a bunch of kids dying, some supermarket where these people are buying groceries and they blow it up. I'm talking about that kind of stuff. So I tend to lean that way, not because I'm a friend of either party. I could be wrong. Listen, maybe if I'm wrong and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes and the Israelis are doing some really nasty shit we don't know about, I could be wrong. I'm admitting that. I'm not an expert on the subject, but hey.
The argument that's been brought up in the defense of the Arabs, when Israel didn't have a country in 1948, after the World War II, that was a British occupied territory. They blew up the King George V Hotel and killed a lot of people.
Who did that?
The Israelis. They called them Ergon, the Ergon. And David, who was the prime minister, David.
But now, hold on a second. Did the Israeli government do that?
No, it wasn't the Israeli government. They were
some splinter faction off to the right somewhere.
There was no government. They were rebels. They were revolutionaries.
Yeah.
So that is the argument that the Palestinians and the Arabs say. Now, I'm just saying it. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying. So, just like they talk about the Americans in 1776, when we had the American Revolution, they considered us terrorists too. We did some stupid things.
Well, yeah, okay, right. Well, you
so every group that wants autonomy does that all over. But you have to, in modern times, you have to be a little bit more selective in how you do that. And unfortunately, the Arabs in that area, they're not selective. They just do it. They have not grown out of that. They're still doing what the people did years ago.
Hey, Vin, can I just jump in for 1 second? And I don't mean to change the subject. We could go back to this subject in a second, but I want to shut this stupid thing off my screen really quick. So you were talking about Black Lives Matter being a terrorist organization and the whole police brutality thing before. I wanted to play this. So this is my message to Black Lives Matter or anybody who thinks that there's a lot of police brutality. I have the solution of how not to get shot by a cop ever again. Here it is. Stop breaking the law, asshole! That was it. In the words of the famous Jim Carrey, I was cracking up when I saw that. I saw a meme with that the other day, and I've been dying to play that on your show.
Yeah.
You know what? If you stop shooting at the cops, if you stop running from the cops, if you stop doing, what you're doing, and just be a law-abiding citizen, there's a really good chance you're not going to die. I would say your chances are way improved.
This is where I feel bad. Most of the crime that's being committed in the United States is being committed by blacks against blacks, and Black Lives Matter and Antifa. They don't acknowledge that. How many incidences have cops shot over the last few years? Not a lot, maybe 2 or 3 a year, but they make it sound like it's 100 a year.
Oh yeah, it's
they
this
make
epidemic.
But when cops, how many more cops get killed every year than blacks by cops?
At last count, in the year 2021, this very year, there have been, and correct me if I'm wrong, 27 police officers have been killed in the line of duty, and I think like 4 or 5 black men were shot, or black people were shot by police officers. It's so skewed. The numbers are so skewed that it's not even close.
Yeah.
So so back to this guy Adams. What's his name? Eric Adams.
Yeah.
You could tell that I'm not like a 100% brainwashed conservative Republican, because Adams is a Democrat, but he's a good old-fashioned conservative Democrat, a dying breed. He believes in law and order. He believes in justice. I like this guy. And if we can't get a Republican in as mayor of New York City, and again, I don't live in New York City, so you can burn it down for all I care. Let Antifa have it. I don't live there. But if we're going to have a good mayor in New York City, and he can't be a Republican because they'll never vote him in, he's the next best thing. I like this guy. He's all right. I heard him I heard him giving an interview on the news, and he thinks this whole defund the police thing is insanity. The guy's got a head on his shoulders, and as far as a concern, he's a Democrat, but he's the one person that so far, I haven't seen many, but he's the one Democrat that's not a flaming liberal.
Can I tell you something?
If I lived in New York City, I would vote for him, but I don't live there. So.
Okay, now let me tell you. All these other guys running for and females too. I think it's 2 females running for mayor and Democrat. They all were saying defund them. All of a sudden, this woman on Mother's Day, the woman gets shot, her kid gets shot, 3 people get shot by an asshole, and now they all say, "Oh, we gotta have more law." And all of a sudden, they switched everything around. But he was always like that. He was always.
I like him. I like the guy. You know what?
Now, there's another problem we have. Who was the congresswoman, the black congresswoman, who claimed that white supremacists are beating up the Asians? Was it Maxine Waters or one of them?
Listen, first of all, when you talk about
all the Asians that are being hurt, being hit by black people,
it doesn't exist. You know what? I've been ranting about this on my own stuff the last couple of weeks. I have yet to find, and I have nothing against Asian Americans, but when we're talking about Asian American hate crimes, let's be very specific about what we're talking about. What the left would have you believe, what the flaming liberals would have you believe, is that there is a huge increase in Asian American hate crimes because Donald Trump called it the Chinese virus, and you got a bunch of hillbilly, white supremacist Trump supporters who are now going out and beating up on Chinese people, Asian people in general, because they're blaming the Chinese for the coronavirus. That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. If there is Asian hate crime going on, it has nothing to do with Donald Trump, white supremacist, hillbilly, white boys with AR-15s that are doing this because of Donald Trump saying that it was called the China virus. It's got nothing to do with that. And I, for one, have not seen anybody or heard of anybody talk about a single Asian person that has been beat up by a person like that I just described. It is another fabricated leftist Marxist. They just want to keep vilifying the right. They want to keep vilifying Trump supporters. They want to keep vilifying white people, and on and on and on. And people need to stop.
Well, I'm going to tell you, there's more and more hate crimes against Asians. Matter of fact, here's some good news. A Chinese American detective, NYPD detective, is suing a protester because they made some derogatory remarks to him that he was Asian. And you know what he did? He said, "I'm going to sue you," and he's suing them. Yeah, his name is Vincent. Oh, another Vinny. Vincent Chung.
If anybody knows, and I've asked this question before, if anybody out there knows of a single Asian American who has been traumatized, beat up, abused because of the China virus, please let us know. Come out and speak up and let us know, because I haven't heard of a single one. Not one.
No. Every Asian that's everyone that's been arrested, Joe, everybody.
Maxine Waters and AOC will have you believe that guys like me are going out. I was in Chinatown a couple of weeks ago because my wife and my stepson, they really like that roast duck. You know those little shops where they hang all the ducks in the window, and you order a roast duck and they pull one down and they chop it up and they cook it up and they give it to you. You take it home. So I went down there a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and Chinatown was beautiful. The place was packed, the open air markets with the fruits and vegetables. And I went down there. There was a ton of people down there. Everybody was doing their business. I didn't see anybody. They're so friendly. The Asian people are so friendly and nice. I didn't see a single thing that would lead me to believe that, we hate the Chinese people. First of all, Donald Trump never once said that. It's the Chinese Communist government, the CCP, that's to blame for all the problems, not the people that live in China. They got nothing to do with anything. They didn't do anything wrong. We don't hate the Asian people. We love the Asian people.
Matter of fact, I used to do a lot of business in China.
Ridiculous.
We used to do a lot of business in Little Italy in Manhattan, and it's right next to Chinatown. The Italians and the Chinese got along famously for years. Never had a problem. Always got along because of respect. They respected us. We respected them. Now, I never lived down there, but I did a lot of business down there. It's another false narrative by the socialists that white.
Absolutely that. That is absolutely 100% correct.
I got to say something.
It's divisive and it's disgusting.
The woman that was drunk and ranted on Instagram about how she hates cops and all this other, and then she had an accident where she killed a cop on the Long Island Expressway a couple of weeks ago. She's getting charged with 13 charges against her, and including vehicular homicide and 15 years in jail. She's looking at, and I hope she does go to jail, which she did. Now, I believe that by her ranting and raving how she hates cops, to me that's premeditated. And she got drunk and she killed, and then she took off after she hit the cop. Now,
listen,
the biggest problem we have is
this thing about the cops, Vinny. This thing about the cops. Listen, I am no saint, okay? You know me, I'm no saint. But I was raised in a home that way back when, cops were the bad guys, right? I was raised in a Sicilian family, so cops were supposed to be the bad guys. But then when I opened this IT company that I run now, working on computers and stuff like that, and I actually started working with police departments and working on their systems and talking to these guys and getting to know them. They're just a bunch of regular guys trying to take care of their families. They're not like superheroes. They're just normal people trying to make a living, trying to protect the public. And I really didn't know who I was dealing with until I got to work with them hand in hand and day to day. And I got to tell you something. I got a whole new attitude. The last 15 years of my life, I got a whole new attitude with police officers. These guys are just regular guys taking care of their families. They got kids, they got wives, they got homes, they got mortgages. They're just like you and me. And when you see them vilified like this, on TV and BLM and Antifa and burn it down and this and that. It infuriates me. And there's nothing.
Joe, in Portland and to Seattle, they have that autonomous zone where nobody can go in unless you're one of the blacks there. Well,
That's right.
they have their own crime. They have fights and they have shootings.
Yeah, and then what do they do as soon as somebody gets shot?
Well, yeah, but they won't go to the police.
They call 911.
They won't let the police.
I got a Blue Lives Matter. I got the emblem on the side on my side window on my car.
Right.
It's on the back window. It says Blue Lives Matter. You know that flag, the American flag with the thin blue line on it?
Right.
And I swear to God, my car has been keyed like 15 times for having that sticker on it.
Really?
And I wear those scratches on the side of my car like a badge of honor.
Oh, well, that's good. Well, you got sick people out there. Unfortunately, we are never going to get rid of the sick people. You have to treat them a certain way. If they can be medicated and treated, psychological and psychiatry, fine. If not, put them in fucking jail. That's all I can say. If you can't treat them, honestly, you put them in jail. That's all. That's all it is. Now, right now in Bedford-Stuyvesant, they have gang warfare. They have the Hoolies and the 900. Now, all these gang warfare, especially in Chicago is terrible. All these gang killings are all related to drugs. Okay, here's the deal. I sell drugs on a corner, and you come in my corner and you start selling drugs. I don't like that. So what do? I tell you, stop it. They don't stop it, I shoot you. Then you shoot me back, and I shoot you back. And this is going on and on and on. And it's crazy.
Normally I would say let them kill each other, but the problem is they miss and they kill the little kid in the carriage walking by.
One of my non-sexual fantasies is to get all these gangs, put them on Ellis Island.
Time out. I really don't want to hear any of your fantasies, sexual or otherwise.
No, I would like to get all these gangs on Randall's Island, shut the island off, shut all the and let them kill each other. Let them go at it. But it never's going to happen. Never going to happen.
Listen, if you want to get really crazy, I have a fantasy too. Let's move all the leftists and all the liberals out to California and let them have the state.
I agree with that. That's
Let us have the East Coast. You guys can have the West Coast.
I like to say some good news. I like to say some good news on the show once in a while. The good news is that New York State and California have lost congressional districts and lost representatives because of the census. Florida and Texas have gained. So we're possibly going to get 2 or 3 more Congress people. Now,
well, okay, so hold on a second. So here you have liberals. You have liberals in California and New York that are fleeing the state because they don't want to live there anymore. And they're going to where? They're going to Texas, they're going to Florida. So they're going to eventually swing the vote towards Democrat and liberal.
I don't think there's enough liberals going. We have to see how many. For example, if there's 10,000 people going, maybe 5,000 are liberals, 5,000 are conservatives. So there's they wash each other out. We don't know that. I don't know. You don't know it. I don't know. I haven't seen that. But the thing is, a lot of the people, even the liberals, are saying, "Wait a minute, I don't want to live here anymore. I want to live in a better state." And hopefully, they will not vote blue. They'll vote red if it comes to that. We don't know.
Well, I have a feeling that people that move from the liberal states to go someplace where it's nicer to live, like a red state, they tend to bring their baggage with them.
It's like
those liberal ideas.
Wait, let me give you another analogy. It's like the people that come from Somalia. I don't want to mention names. 2 or 3 congresswomen. They come.
We won't mention any names like Elon Omar.
They want the United States to go become a shithole like the shithole they came from.
Yeah, I saw that meme too.
You leave a country because it's terrible. You can't make money. You can't live over there. It's terrible. And then you come here and you want the same thing that you had there. It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're talking about Elon Omar.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Squad.
One of them.
The thing, the great thing about AOC plus 3 is they have zero credibility.
That's true.
So, you know, every time AOC opens her mouth, it's like a sitcom. It's a joke. She has no credibility. She has no, I mean, I don't even know how a Cortez's brain generates enough electricity to keep her heart beating.
She's a tiny little thing too. She's like maybe 100 pounds.
I don't know. It amazes me.
But I got to tell you, there was a few. Once in a while, she does come out with something that's semi-intelligent, but most of the time, it's just stupid shit, stupid stuff, stupid.
No, seriously. If I had one chance to meet Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and ask her one question, I got one question for her. Right this would be my question: 100,000 sperm, and you're the one that made it? That's my question.
That's a good question. I don't think she can answer that.
Did that happen? Forgive my French.
Now, I got another issue to talk about. Bill Gates is getting divorced. Now, why is he getting divorced? One of the things is the wife does not like the people he's hanging out with. He's hanging out with pedophiles. He was with Epstein before he committed suicide. And I still wonder if he really committed suicide because they have no videos of what happened. The two cops that were supposed to be there happened to be out, and you don't hear anything about them being disciplined or arrested for that. You know, but that's another story. But one of the things that we might have a show about that is there's so many pedophiles in Washington, D.C. People with power have the tendency to live out their fantasies because they have the power and the money to do it. And one of the fantasies of these people is have sex with children, and it's disgusting, terrible.
Hey, Vin, I got news for you. If you think that rich, powerful people want to have sex with children, it goes way beyond that. And I'm not going to start being a QAnon guy here because otherwise then we get discredited as well. But let me ask you a question. If you want to join an LA gang, right? One of these guys with the bandanas in LA, what's your initiation?
You got to kill somebody or you got to...
Right? Perfect. It's a random, you got to take a gun, you got to walk into a deli or a gas station and shoot some random stranger. And that's how you get your initiation so that you're a member of the gang.
Right.
Why do they do that? They do that for several reasons. They do that for two main reasons. Number one, it establishes your credibility. You're willing to go the extra mile and do what's necessary, right? Number two, now they got something on you. Now, if you ever decide to grow a conscience, that gang's got something on you, so you're not so likely to rat the gang members out, and they got you, right? Let's put that on the side for a second, right? If you're going to join the mob, if you want to be a lieutenant or a made guy in the mafia, right? How do you get in?
Well, here's why I can tell you how, because I know these people.
Let's make it short. The show's not that long. You got to make. They call it. You got to make your bones, right? You got to make your bones.
With Joe, I've known people that are in the mob that never killed anybody. They earners. If they're an earner.
The point I'm getting at
but I know
is
the point you're making.
When you're a rich senator or a rich, why is it so hard to believe? Why is this such a conspiracy theory that you heard about the LA street gang, you heard about making your bones with the mob? So why is it such a stretch that the elites, the high level, these people in the government, these rich billionaires, if you want to be part of their little club, they want to have something on you so you can't rat them out, and so they know that you'll do what it takes to get the job done. Enter the pedophile. So if you want, you tell some guy, listen, we'll make you a senator, we'll make you rich, we'll make you a billionaire, but you got to rape this 10-year-old kid. And if you do that, you're set for life. A lot of guys, they don't care. They want to do it. They got no morals, and they go ahead and they do that. So they're not necessarily a pedophile, but they're doing what needs to be done to get the job done. Now they got something on you. So you got Ghislaine Maxwell and this guy Epstein. They got hundreds of videos right? Supposedly, this is what Maxwell said. She said this on the news. She said, all the videos, all the evidence that Epstein has, I have copies of it, which might implicate some very, very wealthy billionaires, some very, very powerful politicians like Bill Clinton, maybe, who knows, right? And all these people that were on the jets that went to Epstein Island. So are they really pedophiles? Maybe not, but they did what they were asked to do, so that now I got something on you, and now you proved that you'll do what's necessary.
No, I agree with you 100%. However, if she has all this stuff, how come she hasn't made a deal?
By the way, what I just told you is straight out of the Q book, out of the QAnon. That's what those guys are saying. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I listened to the argument.
It's plausible.
It makes a little bit of sense. I don't know if I agree with it because I have to have proof, and I don't see too much. I mean, QAnon's been talking about this crap for the last 8 years, and all of a sudden they arrested Jeffrey Epstein with all these pictures of all these kids and all these politicians and all these rich guys. The pieces are starting to fall into place.
Well, let me give you an example.
Yet, but hey,
Leon Black, who's a big billionaire, I forgot what company and what, it doesn't matter. He's a hedge fund manager. He was paying Epstein a stupid amount of money as a consultant, like 800,000, $1 million. I forgot, it was a totally stupid amount. Now, why would he pay that guy just for? You have so many other people that are good experts in finance. He was probably, that's his way of getting what you're saying now. That's probably how he had to pay him off.
Maybe that guy visited Epstein Island and got a little massage with a happy ending from some 13-year-old or something, and they got it on tape. And now, guess what? I'm investing all my money with you.
Yep.
It's not exactly that far of a stretch. Take it back down to the level of the LA street gang and a drive-by shooting. It's the same thing. Why do people think, oh my God, it's a conspiracy theory? Why? What I just told you makes perfect sense. It's how the rich people do it. Rich people, some guy with $1 billion is not going to do a drive-by in a deli.
No, but he can pay somebody, a pimp, to get him a 14-year-old girl, because that's what turns him on. And he'll pay good money for that. Matter of fact,
and let me tell you something.
One of the books I got coming out.
You see my face on this show right now. I'm going to make a prediction. Ghislaine Maxwell will never, ever be convicted of anything. Period. End of story. She's in jail right now with no bail. She's a flight risk, blah, 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 blah. She will never see the inside of a courtroom. Her case will never, ever be heard. There's too many people that stand to lose. She will either die, get killed in prison, commit suicide, or make a deal and give somebody up. But that chick will never, ever see the inside of a courtroom. I guarantee it. And anybody wants to bet me, make a comment over here and put your wager in, and I'll bet you 3-1. 3-1 that I'm right. That case will never see the inside of a courtroom.
Time out, Jeff. Anthony, you were supposed to put my books up, my daughter's thing up. I mean, these are our sponsors. You got to put
a shameless plug. Let's have the shameless plug. There we go.
So far, the sales have been pretty good. I understand.
I like the covers. I love the covers, Vin.
Yeah, I like them. And my publisher did everything herself. I sent a couple of pictures, and they made it. I like the Mafia Double Cross. That has a very mysterious, and that's my daughter's company. My daughter's doing very well. By the way, I started the company, and she's doing better than I have. I'm a little annoyed about that. No, I'm only kidding. I'm very proud of my daughter. She's doing a great job. She's really a good investigator. I mean, not that she learned so much from me, even though she did, but she's good on her own. She's got good insights. That's the problem when you hire people. They have to have good insight into whatever position they're going to do, whatever they're going to do. We got a few more minutes left. I'm glad. I'm enjoying myself. We're having a good repartee here. Okay. I want to do a show on all these pedophiles, but here's the problem. I'll probably get killed before we finish. I'll probably wind up in an alleyway.
There's a nice special. You know what I love about pedophiles? There's number one, the old saying, there's a nice extra warm special place for them in hell. And number two, when pedophiles go to jail, even the most hardened criminals hate pedophiles. So when they go to prison, they get it. They get it every which way to Sunday.
Now, I want to tell you something. A guy in, I think it was in California, one inmate killed 2 pedophiles. Now, here's what's interesting. He killed one. He had a cane. I think he killed one with a cane. I forgot how he killed the second one. But how did they let him be in that? The prison themselves let him. You know what? Get rid of one of these. I heard stories when I'm with my cop friends. They had a pedophile go to a prison. As soon as he walked in, the correctional officer yelled out, "Hey, we got another one here," and that was the end of that guy.
Yep, good for that. That's the great thing about prison. I love that thing about prison. They clean up the pedophiles better than we ever could.
That's a fact, Jack. That's a fact.
There is absolutely no redemption. There is no forgiveness. I'm sorry. I know I'm being a hard ass, but
here's the other
absolutely
problem.
No redeeming
pedophile, just like a
possibility.
rapist, cannot stop.
I have a daughter. I have a daughter, and there would be you could put me in prison for the rest of my life if I ever caught anybody doing like that.
And there's a lot of people there's a guy in Texas that caught a pedophile raping his daughter. He beat him to death. Guess what? No charges against him.
I would have beat him, put him on intravenous, and kept him alive and tortured him for about 6 months.
Well, this guy beat him to death. They did not charge him. They said, no. He did. That was good. That was a good one. I mean, we're talking about killing people, whatever, but in the justice, it's okay. I have to go with that. Now,
listen,
we have covered almost everything. However, anybody listening have any comments they want us to answer?
Nope.
No.
I don't
Mike
see anything.
Every week he's always putting something up.
Yeah, no. I miss Ed and Courtney. Hello to you guys if you're watching, but hopefully we'll get you next week.
Ed has to move out of his apartment, so he's looking for an apartment. Anthony comments. I got a lot of comments, Anthony. We got a lot of comments. All we have is comments. I mean, that's all. One of my comments is I want to thank Joe for being on the show. Joe, you are a font of information. I don't always agree with you, only about 95%. And by the way, we want to make a little announcement. Courtney is on Heart Radio. Her by the way, you and I are going to be on a podcast.
iHeart Radio.
iHeart. And maybe one of the days we'll be on iHeart. I don't know. But she's a very intelligent woman. She's sharp. She's a conservative in California, which is kind of, she's a minority there, that's for sure. And we had a good show tonight. We had some good stuff here. I mean, we actually stayed mostly away from politics. We stayed just with crime and stuff like that. And I try to keep it that way. I get a lot of crime though. I get a lot of things from the police, the Benevolent Association. So I want to be putting up more crime-related stories. Of course, anybody can say anything about politics. We're always gonna jump in on that. You know that, right, Joe?
Oh yeah, let's do
it. My invitation to the Black Lives Matter. We'd like to have one of them on the show, but they won't go. I met a few.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen. I would have a field day with that. And
they won't go. They won't come.
My statement to Black Lives Matter, and not again, this is like talking about communist China, right? I'm not talking about the leadership of Black Lives Matter. Screw them. I'm talking about the people underneath who drank the Kool-Aid, the people in BLM who support them, who think, yeah, they're doing the right thing. Come on the show and talk to me, because I am not your enemy. I am not an enemy of the people who are supporting Black Lives Matter. I'm an enemy of Black Lives Matter. And I know it sounds subtle, but there is a difference, because Black Lives Matter is a self-professed Marxist organization that wishes to tear down the entire fabric of the United States. I'm not making this up. It's on their website.
It's on their website, yeah. Also,
If you look at the lady
They're
who's running that shit now,
they're ripping off their own people. They are taking advantage of. All right, we got no more time. I want to thank you, Joe. I want to thank Anthony and all the people that called in. As we say in Little Italy, Illinois, always with us. And next week we're gonna have. I might not. I don't know if I'm gonna be on next. I might be in Florida. But we could do. I'll be on.
oh, can I guest host the show for you?
You bet your ass you can. And I'll be your sidekick. I'll be in Florida. I'll get a computer and I'll be your sidekick. How's that?
All right. Yeah, we got to talk about that whole sidekick thing, pal.
You don't like that? A co-host. Co-host sounds better, right?
Buonanotte.